Oh, mamacita.
You say what?
It's a mamacita.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot in here.
This is pretty stout.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for anyone who is joining us, who has entered the room with us. We are back for another episode of Fun N Games. I am Michelle Stone.
I'm Jenna Rose.
And we are with the Underground Music Collective. Today we are joined by one of my favorite artists in Nashville. I actually discovered him through Nashville Tour Stop. Aaron, if you're watching, I love you very much. We all do. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah. So my name's John Drake Hollier. I'm a songwriter here in town, in Nashville. I'm from Louisiana. Just kind of doing rock roots music, and it's fantastic to meet these girls through a Nashville Tour Stop. And excited to put some music out this year and continue touring. Hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah, and we're pretty excited too. So as you guys know at Fun N Games, we don't do normal interviews. We like to play a game with the artists too, to, just get to know them a little bit better, have some fun, and mix it up. Today we are playing Jenga, which is kind of a Fun N Games staple here. So you want to go ahead and start us off, John, and make the first move?
Yeah.
For everyone watching at home, be on the tips of your seat with us. If this falls over, we're letting it fall over. So
Here, I'm actually going to adjust the whole thing. If
yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The rules haven't been accepted. That we asked the refs. They're good with that.
Are the refs good with that? All right.
Okay.
Mini Jenga, begin.
Mini Jenga, yes. It's a whole lot different with mini Jenga because the pieces are so much more. I think the word's supple.
Well,
Supple.
this is original Jenga, though.
Is it?
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is giant Jenga?
You gotta put it on top.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is my
So
first
I
rodeo.
guess let's start out with just talking about your music.
Yeah.
I've heard you play live and I've listened to your music on Spotify and stuff. Kind of tell everyone how you started music and what
Yeah.
your journey's been getting into it.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for asking. That's always the fun question. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana. Not nowhere, but the middle of the state. We didn't have access to guitar lessons or vocal lessons, or there was really no way to, I don't know, how further a music career. So I heard the first band, I think live music band at church. So the bar and church were the two places you could play. That was really it.
Right,
So I heard
church
my
is
first
where a lot of
live
people get
band
into
at
it.
church, and I was blown away. Seeing, you can listen to music all you want, but it's funny hearing drums, guitar, bass, all that live as a kid just blew me away. So I just kept begging them to let me play. And they kept saying no. And I didn't realize how uncharming I was being, but I was I could play any Ozzy Osbourne song. I could play Brooks and Dunn. I was
Ozzy's a really difficult artist. to
I
play. I'm
was
impressed
honing,
with
I was just
that.
practicing and honing, and so, but I didn't realize that I couldn't play with a band, and you didn't realize it until you don't know what you don't know, and so
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, they finally let me in and play, and I just got schooled. Some of these guys were so good, and so eventually I warmed my way up to start. This was a traveling band too, and so I started traveling with those guys in high school, which was pretty cool. And yeah, that was my live experience. I was playing bass. There wasn't a whole lot of bass players in Alexandria, Louisiana, so warmed my way up to that. So I was doing flight eights as a teenager, which was cool, going coast to coast. We went to Europe and stuff.
What's a flight eight?
So grabbing your bass and getting on a plane and just flying to a gig, which was
they call that a flight eight.
or fly date.
Oh,
Yeah,
fly
sorry.
date. Okay, I was
I've just started
this
drinking.
musician lingo
Yeah,
has gotten
well, the more I
wild.
start drinking, the more you guys won't understand. But yeah, so I started that, and then I went to college at LSU, and that's where I kind of met the crossroads of I had two options. I could either keep playing music and not do school full time at this point in my life, or Belmont and Nashville gave me that out of hey, I could still study music or study anything and still travel. The professors were a little more forgiving there, so I moved to Nashville, kind of here giving it a big old swing. So it really cut my teeth. I still don't know how to read music. So it's all just live.
Very few musicians actually know how to read music.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
feel
as
like
common
that.
as you
That's not as weird as it feels to say.
No,
Right.
no.
But there was nobody to teach me here's a G chord. You kind of just have to figure it out.
I mean, our producer here, who started the UMC, he's self-taught everything. He's still learning whenever he's here, and he
Wow.
puts on all these intricate shows
That's
and
awesome.
stuff. So I think that's more common. What all instruments do you play? Just besides guitar, bass?
I mean, mostly stringed instruments,
Okay.
piano, guitar, bass. That's kind of my bread and butter. And obviously, moving to Nashville, I'm not as good at any of those as I thought I was. But it's like, leaving Louisiana, I'm a good guitar player. And you move here, you're like, no, you're not. But that's the fun in it, is that in Nashville, you're never the best in the room. And that's a good thing.
It's
I feel
humbling.
like. It is humbling.
Yeah.
You're always like motivated.
It's crazy. You never, because even when you're like, oh, I had a good show, I'm not playing anything next week. I'm gonna go out and listen to some music, and you're gonna hear someone who's a lot better at you, just like that, just poking your head into a bar, and that's I like that because it makes you go home and be like, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it keeps you on your game.
They say surround yourself. If you're in a room of people and you're the smartest one in the room, that you need to enter a different room, and that's the same with musicians. Like, if you're the most talented musician in the room, you need to get into a new room.
Yeah. I agree. And unfortunately, you don't have to go very far in Nashville to find that. Yeah. And at the same time, there's a lot of people who don't have it together here. And so you can feel good too playing. You can play and have a good, like, oh, that was a really good show.
Yeah.
Right. There's a good spectrum.
There is a good space. It's broad. And so I like that a lot about Nashville. And we toured a ton in 2019. So that was awesome because the show that might work here doesn't necessarily work in Birmingham or Louisville or hell, you go even further into the Midwest. Like, I find that it was even more of a challenge. So I've been thankful for that. Like, music really live music's been my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Really have a lot to learn about the studio. I learned that, because this is 2019 is when I put my first music out as a solo artist.
Well, I definitely want to talk more about that too, because we have a lot of questions about your individual songs. Jenna, it is your turn to play some Jenga, and don't be alarmed by our producer crawling on the floor.
That's normal.
He's doing a lot of tech stuff, behind the scenes for you guys. We work really hard to put this together for you guys, and we love what we do. So I hope you guys like it too. And by the way, Jenna and Jenga, it's a thing because she's really good at this.
I like
game.
it.
I'm the Jenga master.
Oh.
That was like a pretty bold first move.
Yeah,
you had easy options. You're like, we're not doing that.
No.
So so let's kind of dive more. There's something specifically I know I want to ask you that me and her talked about.
Okay.
We were listening, one song that's my favorite, which I'm sure everyone can, or not everyone, but a lot of people can say, is Jeff Buckley's Ghost.
Yeah.
That's a really popular one. When you're at Nashville Tour Stop and you play that, it brings the room alive.
Yeah.
And it sticks in your head. It's one of those songs that you kind of keep playing. So tell us about the inspiration behind that and kind of how you came. That's so beautifully written.
Thank you. That one was. It's funny. Like, the writing process took. I wrote it with Charlie Berry, who's, in my opinion, fantastic.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Charlie. He's I hope he's watching. I don't know if he's watching. He's also a traveling musician who spent. I don't know how long Charlie's been on the road. He's really someone who kind of guided me in songwriting. I would say when I first started writing, because I was just a touring guy for a long time. And I had a lot of lyrics, write a ton of lyrics. Charlie's the one who kind of pushed me over the ledge of hey, let's go out there and kind of make some mistakes. So I feel like that song, we were touring throughout upstate New York. We were on a 12-hour drive. It's just a crazy drive for a one-off show that weekend. And that was a whole different situation. But the management had sent us on this kind of just trip from hell. And so we listened to a ton of records. But Jeff Buckley's Grace was one of those that we just it just kind of stuck out as something that it became a theme. Every time we get back in the car, we put it on. We had so much time to kill. And so I feel like that I had the chorus kind of idea for that song already structured. So when I brought it to Charlie when we got home, it was like, hey, let's write this song. And he threw in the Jeff Buckley line, the tip of the hat of that weekend. So that song pretty much describes the weekend that we were out. Maker's Mark is my whiskey. So I tip my hat to Maker's Mark.
That's what we are drinking tonight. If you're wondering what we're sipping on some Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
Is Maker's bourbon or whiskey?
It's a bourbon.
It's a bourbon. Yeah. There is a difference. I figured that out after 7 years of bartending. I was like, it's been different this whole time.
And we in placing that in the song, we say whiskey as opposed to bourbon, because just the rhyming of that. But that song in particular came out really fast. We both sat down, pretty exhausted from that trip. And it was just I did a lot of the driving too. I tended to on that specific run of shows. And so I'd always get truck stop coffee and just sit down. And so it was just a no-brainer when we were writing the song.
Coffee.
I opened the song with that line. And Charlie threw in some cool zingers too that we just had fun with it. It's heartfelt. It's not for everybody. But I feel like with Nashville Tour Stop and honestly traveling, playing songwriter rooms.
Has that been a big one for you? I imagine that
I wouldn't say big. Honestly, we both wrote it. None of us had any intention on cutting it. Right when we wrote it, it was just a fun song. Like I said, it wasn't this kind of thing where We had massaged it for months and tried to get this song out. We wrote it and we loved it, and then we sat on it. And Charlie went out and put some music. I went out and put some music, and eventually I came back to that song in 2019, because we wrote that in 2018. 2019, I was like, I want to play this live. And it immediately opens up the room, not to everybody. Some people don't even know who Jeff Buckley is.
I didn't know who Jeff Buckley was. I didn't Google him, but I still
guitar,
liked it.
Yeah, well, as a guitar player, you know, saying, oh, Travis Tritt, we could throw in something more for the common person. But Jeff Buckley's, it's out there for the song.
I don't know who Travis Tritt is either.
Oh, okay. Brooks and Dunn are like Kenny Chess. You could get real cheesy with it.
I was like,
but yeah. Who the hell is it?
No, but it's like an inner circle kind of thing.
It is. It's and there's like Jeff Buckley purist, which I've learned, which I have to like kind of temper their expectations. That it's like this song is not about Jeff Buckley. This is about a songwriter who Jeff Buckley would understand. And so, not to get heady with it, but that's what that song was about.
You know, like Irish bars, which I say it like we all like have been to Ireland and stuff, but I'm sure we all know like the gist. You know, like they all get together and they're drinking at a pub and they're like singing their song, even though that's not Irish. It gives me that kind of vibe. Or like Jeff Buckley's Ghost, and like everybody like throwing up their beer and like holding onto their kilts
Everybody
and kicking
can
it.
join in.
Yeah, like
it's the product of being a bar band, which has been a huge part of my like the last 3 years. Probably just been a bar band, and I feel like that is a unique advantage and disadvantage, but it's for writing songs like that, like sing along fun songs. It's an easy out, you know, because the songs that might work in a bigger venue or vessel don't necessarily work playing to 100 people in a room that don't even know who you are.
The more intimate songs.
All
right. Speaking of intimate, it is my turn.
Let's go.
So let's see if I can do this.
Come on.
Get really close. I'm gonna scoot over here.
Yeah.
Oh, with our artists, get a little close.
Yeah.
All right.
Snuggle time.
Let's see. Oh. I played this last night with somebody, and like, I was the one that knocked it over. So.
That's right.
Let's not hope.
I was deep in conversation at that moment when you were playing.
Do you guys do this every day?
Yeah, we have Fun and Game where we train.
Like
camps.
Yeah.
We come here and we just train the games we play.
I love it.
But yeah, Jenna. I'm gonna let Jenna take the seat because I'm asking too much. I talk too much. So.
So when you were touring a lot in 2019, that was your solo stuff that were you touring with anyone, or was that just you?
Yeah, I toured both. Like a kind of a mixed bag of shows. A lot of it I booked myself. Some of it I didn't. So it was like a kind of a whole spectrum of playing places that I will never go again, and playing some places that I starved that I'm like, that is special.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of stuff by myself. I even did the sleep in the car on the side of the interstate, like, and then I did stuff where it was like we had a bigger budget in a van with the band.
Bigger budget in the van with the band.
Yeah.
You just wrote a song right here in the seat.
Kind of right in the middle of another song right now. You know, it's like with the van and the band, like, you know. So
That reminds me of that Eminem video where he's like with the Sam and the Stam and the Stam and the, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Have you heard of that where he's like Stam and just a Stam? And it's like
a cadence thing.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you know what that is. Like, put an emoji of some sort.
Video.
Yeah. That's hilarious though. So
like hotel, like, you know, or a motel, and
you.
So what's the biggest contrast of like the weirdest, creepiest, craziest place you slept, and then like the fanciest or experience?
Oh God! I mean, I don't know the
like Norman Bates kind of.
Not like getting killed. There were some places that we might get killed, but it was like some places that are just like genuinely creepy. I don't know the audience or like the what I can actually talk about.
You can talk about anything.
Yeah, anything.
There was one show, and I do want to play that. The venue was awesome. Like, it was one of those, it's a college town, good built in. They took care of us, but they're letting us stay at their place after the promoter's house. And we got there, and it was kind of a like a compound. Like there was no showers, but there was bathrooms. Mm-hmm. And it was like a male compound. And it was all the guys I was with were just like, hey man, this is really creepy. We found some like sex books and stuff. And you could tell like none of the stuff had been washed, or like the beds and stuff. So like we dove a little bit deeper. It got a little dark, but we ended up just getting out of there. And so we drove further down on the interstate and found a place. And the guy, he messaged me. He's like, hey man, are y'all not staying at the place? I'm not gonna call it a house, but it was like, well, man, we're not. Like, I would have been fine, but I think some of the guys were getting real spooked by the books that we found.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what people are doing. People are weird.
Yeah,
And
some
that-
people
well,
are really weird.
But it was also like, imagine a garage with bunk beds and
Right.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was like, are we gonna be like on a movie like later about like an
Right.
unfortunate situation?
Also, we're so spoiled with our lives too. Like any situation that's even like a little bit less comfortable than we're used to, and we're
Yeah.
like, I can't take this.
Well, if you sleep in a car, you know that this is a step up.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey man, these guys, I don't blame them. They're like, hey man, this is not my show. Like you brought me out to play
Yeah.
right.
bass. And it's like, I'm not sleeping in this dungeon.
I've
Right.
slept on a concrete floor, so I'm like
Yeah.
happy just sleeping on a blanket.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I would want to sleep on a bunk bed in a garage with
Yeah.
a bunch of
I don't think I'd
sex
want
books
to
around,
either. That like
even
I
a
definitely
stranger's
would.
house.
Being a female too, like I feel like it's a whole lot different from females and males because we have like that like men can pee anywhere and women can't, and men can lay pretty much anywhere, and women are like I don't want to like put my body on that.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's your turn again, sir.
All right.
We're doing okay here, I think. And he just found like the perfect one. Do you play this every day?
No, I do not. But I do. I've played it enough to like know where some of the like low hanging fruit is.
Yeah, and like, well, it's like a whole like, oh,
Yeah, I know.
Ooh,
I don't think this one's gonna work.
they,
it never happened.
yeah. So they technically say the rules.
You can't tap.
Oh, you
Oh.
can't.
You can't
Once you
move it.
touch it, you have to pull it out.
Yeah.
but-
Oh, is that really the rule?
Well,
Yeah, but we don't really abide by the Jenga rules because we do things differently here. So if you want to tap that bad boy back in and try
we make
another,
our own rules.
or the other direction,
there
yeah.
you go.
There
See,
you go.
Still, you follow the rules.
See, Jenga tells
Damn.
you a lot
After all.
about life. Like, sometimes one direction might work better than the other direction.
Yeah. This is true.
So let's talk about
crazy.
your future plans and
Yeah.
what we can kind of expect going forward with your music. Like,
Yeah.
what do you? I know you have a Jeff Buckley's video.
Yeah, so we did kind of say heat up. I would say 2020 was a real buzz killer for me. Obviously everybody, but like my particular career had it started in 2019 and had some really highs. So I did not expect things to kind of grow legs, and so I had this cool moment of going into 2020 with a lot of steam, and just got just knocked out on the ground, and in a good way, it happened to everyone else, selfishly.
So you're not alone.
So I'm not alone.
Yeah.
But in a way that I kind of had to start over, and it was like, okay, I'd put music out and it did well, for me personally, for like recording in the house and doing it did better than I expected. And now we went to 2020, and I released a few songs, and nothing was really doing well. And so I was like, okay, I don't know where to sit. So Jeff Buckley's Ghost comes in. I've been playing a ton of these little writers' nights in Nashville, which I never had the time for.
You've been busy.
In a good way. It's
Yeah,
like,
in a
okay,
very
but a
good way.
weird show. Like my music's not songwriter stuff. And so I played a ton of them, and that song in particular kind of rose to the top. So we recorded it, put it out, put a video, just trying to heat everything up. Get people back on my Spotify listening, because you take 6 months of a hiatus in
Right.
today's world.
Right.
That's
You're-
an eternity. You're
yeah.
done. I know people that are putting singles out every 6 weeks.
Yeah, they're
I can't
constant.
follow
Every
it.
month,
I can't.
yeah.
I can't even follow it, and it's like, but that's who I am in theory competing with.
And with music, it's a very unique thing because a lot of creative outlets with music, you're not just selling what you're working on, but you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
Because like if you're an actor, you don't have to worry about selling yourself. Like you're going to be in a movie and it's about the movie that you're selling. But being a musician, they're not just because so many people make great songs. There's
Yeah.
like you said, you walk into a room and it's like everybody's so talented. So you also have to like sell who is John.
It's
like
truly
what
about
appeals.
the artist. Like there is a connection. I mean, I think there are plenty of people out there who appreciate music just for the music and that's it. But like a huge portion of audience is invested because they're invested in you as
in
a
the
person.
person.
Yeah.
And so therefore your music means something completely different than if they'd heard it cold, with
That's
nothing.
why a lot of people too
with
they
no
go through
context.
stages where they make like I know we've all seen it. Our favorite artists make an album that we're like, well, that's not really their best work, but we stick with them because we're like, well, we're not really in it just for the work. We're in
Yeah.
it because like
Right,
we love
because
you
we-
as an artist.
Yes.
We
so,
support this artist and we,
Yeah.
we believe in their work.
and that they'll
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
I mean, that all makes sense too. It's just a weird. I'm learning how to promote myself in today's world, and it's just a little bit different than I would have wanted.
You're getting used to it.
Social media is just a soul crusher for me personally. I see some people thrive. And I'm like,
Some
and I'm
people
so
are
happy
really
for those
good
people.
at it. Yeah.
But it's like at the same time, I like to experience things, like without the phone. Like if I have a really good breakfast, let's say, I'm not gonna document it and put it on the internet. That is my moment. That is for me. So when I see some people are just crushing it their entire life, I'm sometimes consuming it. They took their dog for a walk, or I'm learning how to like slowly do that, you know, because I like bragging about myself through a live show or through a song, but I don't like, you know, I'm not a billboard, you know. So it's like a weird skill that some people have that I'm.
Well, what I say to artists who have trouble with it is, I'll just give some unsolicited advice here. Is, you know, some people, like we're saying, are just naturally really good at it. But the people who struggle with it, I would say it can help to remember that this is a job. Yeah. And everybody in the world has to work a job, and it's never going to be, it's not going to be fun all the time, you know? And so
that's a good way of putting
if you just, this is the part of the job that kind of sucks, but you just got to do it, and you just allot the time and make sure it happens as,
and
you know,
to
part
piggyback
of your
on your
workday.
unsolicited advice, I'm also going to give some unsolicited advice that we all don't think about, because we look at somebody, we're like, oh my God, they're freaking killing it, they're crushing it, they're so good at this. When in reality, they have no idea what they're doing either, but they're just really good at pretending like they do. Sure. So some people are just better at pretending they have their shit together than other people, and I think that's important to realize, because like we compare ourselves like, oh my God, this dude's killing it on social media, when in reality, he's just like, am I? Like, what am I doing over here? Like, I hope people like this. Like, I don't know if people are liking this. So, because we're just on this spinning ball in the middle of outer space, and we're like just all figuring it out. And I feel like that's so important to realize, especially as a creator, because when you put that in your head, you're like, okay, I can't compete with this person because they probably also have no clue what they're doing with their life.
That's very, very accurate. So many people just have no idea what they're doing. They're just going for it. And
we're all figuring it out.
You know, that brings out the best creativity is to just go for it and not worry about whether or not it's good. Just do it.
Speaking of going for it, Jenna, it is your turn. Okay. And we're rounding down to the last few minutes in the interview, so we're gonna make some more moves and ask a couple more questions, and then Mr. John here is going to do what he does best and give you guys a strip performance. So stay tuned. Don't leave. Get your whiskey if you have some. Get your wine. We do have some food here for Mr. John that he's eating. So if you have food, eat it. So we kind of talked about your music. We kind of talked about that. Tell us a little bit about your personal life. You know, what is you outside of your music? Because we'd love to know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm married, so
I've seen her on your Instagram. Shout out to the wife.
Yeah, say it, Laura. Yeah.
Thanks for being amused.
I think she's actually at a happy hour right now.
Tell her to watch it, though. She can watch it. If it'll be on YouTube, too, so when you're watching this in the future.
Yeah. She'll check it out. Well, we're just being I feel like my world shook up a little bit because I had my touring life and I had my like city, like in town life. And so now with quarantine, I feel like I had a little bit of a reshuffle on, like, I'm always the in-town guy. And so trying to be, like, find value is the word I like to use. Like, how do you make money when you're not touring as a musician? So I've done a lot of odd jobs. And I'm not going to get into the jobs, but, like...
Can't give us one odd job?
Like, teaching guitar was one thing I did.
It's not too odd.
It's not. It's
in your alley.
But that, like, trying to work a 9 to 5 is funny.
It's like having your head held underwater.
Well, it's just a different perspective because I kind of see what she goes through. Not in a bad or good way, just like that's just her life. So it's funny to dip into that world too. So as of late, that's been the kind of when I'm not playing, I try and play about two or three times like a week.
What do you guys enjoy doing together as like husband and wife? What is something that you know, because that's like your best friend, obviously, so it's something you spend a lot of your time with.
I mean, we love listening to music. Like she is.
Do you guys do outdoor adventure stuff or?
We did like a lot of hike. We did some camping and hiking.
Yeah. Me and Jenna recently both went to at separate times to Greeter Falls.
Where's that?
It's about an hour and a half out of here.
Is that where all the falls are, east? Where like there's a whole like a strip of falls.
There's a bunch of different falls down there.
I got you.
So yeah, it's a big trail. Big
I would,
hiking
yeah,
trail.
we've done some hiking for sure. I would say, as a late, honestly, getting back to Louisiana has been a big. Like we went to New Orleans and New York City. We have a lot of family in New Orleans, so that's kind of like a hobby. Is like travel, I would say.
New Orleans is like, I just went there actually at the height of COVID last year. I drove down to New Orleans because I have a friend that lives there. That place is absolutely beautiful. I considered moving there for a while. It's got
Did you really?
Yeah, I really did it because it's just got such a unique environment. And the place actually that my friend lives at, it was such a, because it's like 3 houses in the square and it's like a beautiful garden in the middle of them.
Yeah.
And when I went there, the woman who owned one of the houses, she was like, if you want to move in right now, $750 a month, and it's less than I'm paying here. And so I was there for a moment.
$250 a month.
$750. And thankfully I didn't, because I wouldn't be doing this now. You know, I wouldn't have met Jenna. I wouldn't have had the life I had. Obviously, the universe has a purpose, but at that moment, I was like,
yeah, it's a pretty
I
good
could
option.
really, because my lease was about to end. It was literally at the perfect moment in my life.
Gotcha.
So New Orleans is a good spot.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite state, since you've kind of been traveling around? And
I don't have a favorite state, cause like, I feel like most states don't always, like Louisiana is a great example. It's where I'm from. I feel like New Orleans is not a example of Louisiana.
Right.
Just like New York City
Very
is not an
different.
example of New York.
Right.
And
so
it,
city, maybe. What's your favorite city then?
yeah. So we definitely are foodies.
Yeah.
And so I would say through traveling, but also traveling with her, we've done like some really cool cities for food. New York City and New Orleans are my favorite, like in the U.S.
So you must like seafood then.
I love seafood, but also just like Italian food in New York City was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
And I went to San Francisco. We went out to a really nice restaurant that was, and I know it's one time, but I wasn't as blown away as I was I was taken back by places in New York City, okay, this is a kind of a 3-4 star restaurant, and it would just kind of like knock me out. Like, this is amazing. New Orleans has that same vibe where you're like, oh, we can't get into this place. What is this? So we go in there.
And then
You know,
Tennessee,
like,
it's fried chicken.
You know that
everywhere.
I would say
Yeah, and that's just it's been
fried chicken and barbecue.
Yeah.
I would say the secret to San Francisco or Northern California in general is to not go for the fancy restaurants.
Really?
Ooh.
Because that's where I'm from.
Okay.
Some more unsolicited Jenna advice.
I like it.
This
Yeah.
is golden,
Wait, what
though.
part of California?
Sonoma County.
Okay,
So an
okay,
hour and a half
yeah,
north of
yeah.
San Francisco. But yeah, the super fancy restaurants, there's some really good ones, some whatever. But I would say it's like you find the local, I mean, this is obvious advice, but like the local places, you will be absolutely blown away
Yeah.
by the kind of hidden gems
Gotcha.
versus the places that you think you're supposed
That
to
are
go
like
to.
rated.
Gotcha.
That makes a lot of sense. So we do too. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty of almost our interviews being done with Mr. John, which we've had so much fun. I'm gonna make one more last move.
Come on.
And I'm gonna see. Hopefully, I don't knock this over. All right, here. Oh.
Wow.
All right, guys.
That
Well,
was an easy
so
one.
I managed to not knock it over, and that completes the interview portion of this interview. So me and Jenna are gonna let John do what he does best and do some performances for you guys. So hang in there, grab your whiskey, grab your wine, grab a chip, and we will be right back.
All right. Hey, my name is John Drake Hollier. I'm going to play you guys a couple of songs. This is Jeff Buckley's Ghost. Truck stop coffee in an old Ford van. Held too much gear for a four-piece band. With that microphone bleeding under neon lights, another Maker's Mark whiskey, last call night. When that moon's gonna rise down, that Mississippi rolling, covering me as I head to the coast. So if I die young, with both of my boots on, I'd be praying to the Father and the Son, and Jeff Buckley's ghost. 400 miles with a song to sing to that pretty girl shaking her tambourine. Oh, we hurl down the highway wrecking our lives, but I just hope we get paid tonight. When that moon's gonna rise down, that Mississippi rolling, cover me as I head to the coast. If I die young, with both of my boots on, I'd be praying to the Father and the Son and Jeff Buckley's ghost. Washed clean by those dirty waters, I feel it comes on me. It comes a little stronger now. To the edge, I might just jump on in, 'cause if I survive this, Lord, I'd do it all over again. All over again. When that moon's gonna rise down, that Mississippi rolling, covering me as I head to the coast. So if I die young, with both of my boots on, I'd be praying. Oh, I'll be praying that moon's gonna rise down, that Mississippi rolling, covering me as I head to the coast. So if I die young, with both of my boots on, I'll be praying to the Father and the Son, and Jeff Buckley's ghost. Oh, Jeff Buckley's ghost. I've got one more song for you guys. This one's called Restless Love. Reckless Love. You will walk in a fine line between what's right and what you've always known. Baby, go in the distance. You got yourself a ways to go. Now coming on, baby, let's roll down the road. Take it all for granted, living life like a loaded gun. You know I can't stand it. It's young and dumb, coming undone, another heartbreaker on the run. But put your money now where your mouth is. Your lips are moving, honey, you ain't saying nothing at all. I was tripping, you were drowning, just sinking right out in a boat. But hell, I don't mind. Oh, if you don't mind, a little reckless love. Running down a fast lane, make it last and take control. Maybe this is all in
Thank you, guys.